This family is officially live on YouTube for the third annual Not Your Average Investor Show, Fan Appreciation Show, a tradition like no other. I'm your host, Pablo Gonzalez. With me as always is the man that I affectionately like to call GC because of his genius concepts, because he knows how to generate cash flow, because he's a great co-host, and because his name is Greg Christmas. Greg Cohen.
Well, thank you. Thank you, brother. It is fantastic to be with all of you. Thank you for being here. I cannot believe it's been 3 years that we're celebrating on this show.
Yeah.
Wow.
3 years of this, man.
We're all growing up here on this show.
And one of the best additions in the history of the show.
Yeah.
MTM, Madison the Magnificent, our community manager. Say hello, Madison.
Hello, everybody.
First, I'm going to just welcome you all. If you're listening on a podcast or you're watching on YouTube, this is a community. This is no other podcast does this. There is no other online community like this where we just have a fan appreciation show, and it's a real fan appreciation show where we're just highlighting everybody that gets to come on and tell their stories. So if you want to come on and tell their stories, we've talked to a couple of folks that are going to share their stories, but if you're interested in it, raise your hand here in that function that Zoom has. Madison's going to be chatting you all up. You're going to hear from some of the famous names that you'll hear about here in the roll call. But if you are on the podcast, you're on YouTube, if you want to be a part of year 4 of the Fan Appreciation Show, all you got to do is go to nyais.com, sign up, and join us live for one of these. Be part of this roll call, be part of this community, and maybe by the end of 2023, you're up here talking about all this cool stuff that you've done before. Right now, what time is it, GC?
Roll call time, baby.
It's the roll call, baby. We got Madison already. Happy New Year's, NYAI peeps. We got Karen Jensen in the house. Hello, 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 and Happy New Year, everybody. Hello, Karen. We got Lee, the MVP Bishop, wishing everybody, actually, he's just saying hello also. We got Drew Barnhill, the ringmaster of the Not Your Average Investor Show community, saying good afternoon to all. We got our usual lead-off.
You're
hitter.
so excited that you're screwing up a couple of words that you normally nail.
My tongue and my mouth and my brain are not in sync right now, but we got our leadoff hitter, batting cleanup here today. John Heading, wishing everybody a good afternoon. We got the fairy godmother of the Not Your Average Investor Show community, who you will hear from in a second here, wishing everybody, Jen Filson, wishing everybody a good morning from lovely Monterey, California. We got Leslie Wilson in the house, who you'll hear from again. Greetings, everybody from snowy Denver. We got the mountain man, Bill Green, who is coming on today. We got to see Bill Green today. I can't wait to see the color.
I can't wait to see him.
Bill, we've been taking wages on the color of your beard. So I hope it's magnificent.
Hope he's wearing flannel.
Welcome to the mountains of Colorado. We got Gary's Galaxy Note. But from Marietta, California. It's got to be.
All right.
And Rosalind, our regulars, O'Reilly's, the second family
that makes sense.
of the Not Your Average Investor Show community. Checking in. We got Christopher Lee back from Fernandina Beach, checking in.
Right.
Love it. Love it. Karen, thank you for the note that the audio is working. I always need that validation. We got Nadeem Shah in the house with his trademark. Good morning, good afternoon, JWB family. Hope everybody's doing well. We got Not Your Average Guest saying howdy from New Jersey. I'm guessing it's Greg, the other Greg.
I don't know, but he's probably a better version of me either way.
Greg Stone from New Jersey. I'm guessing that you checked in on your phone, because once you check in on your phone, it just says Not Your Average Guest, or it could be Pedro, who's also from Jersey.
True.
I don't know.
Either way, a better version.
Better version of me, Pedro. All right, we got Marilyn Connemans, who's from Homosassa, Florida.
That's the home of the manatees, Pablo.
The manatees. This time of year, the manatees gather in Crystal River, and you can go swimming with them in Homosassa, Florida. We got Rena Lopez in the house, wishing everybody a happy new year from the OC, California. Rena Lopez.
Is that a new name?
Is that a new name?
Is it a new name?
Rena, you picked a heck of a show to show up for the first time for the Fan Appreciation Show. Good to have you here, Rena. I lived in Huntington Beach, California for 4 or 5 years. And guess what, Rena? I tell everybody that I think Jacksonville is Orange County 40 years ago, but you be the judge. You tell me what.
Just move here and then we'll figure it out.
We got Sir Peter James from the esteemed Commonwealth of Virginia. Tip of the cap to you, sir. We're going to see Peter on the show today. We got to see him. Oh, we got Pedro's checking in. So it wasn't Pedro as the Not Your Average Guest. Checking in Pedro Nacianceno from Jersey. Checking in. Nacianceno. Nacianceno.
Welcome to the party again.
Pedro, welcome. Love to have you. We got Tony D in the house
from
Jupiter. Anthony Dida. Yeah, everybody's saying 3 years. It's been crazy. Who else we got checking in? We got B Harris checking in with us. B.
All right.
Good to have you on board, B. We got Donna Chica checking in from Bakersfield, California. Donna's back.
Fantastic.
Family.
Man, this really is the crew, right? The crew is here for the fan appreciation show.
The crew is in full effect.
Love it.
Yeah, hold on. I'm making Madison a co-host so she can help people come up. And we got Ken and Carolyn Moline. You may be aware of them. They're the patriarch and the matriarch of the first family of the JWB Not Your Average Investor community. We salute you. We got Hervé Francois saying Happy New Year's. Hope everyone enjoyed the holidays. Hervé in the house. Good to have you here. Hervé, if you can add more H's to whenever you check in, that would be fantastic. It really helps me do this. And okay. Rena says, good morning. First timer incited from Kingdom 320.
Oh, fantastic. Yes, I was just invited to speak to the Kingdom 320 community a couple of weeks ago. And wow, it's so nice for you to join us. I'm happy you're here.
Is the Kingdom 320 community the folks that we met on the boat?
No.
You want to tell that story?
Sure. Wow. So I was celebrating my 40th birthday. Pablo was there. It was my friends and family. We took a little river cruise, and about halfway through the boat ride, everybody on now this boat, there were probably half the boat was our friends and family, but there was another half of the boat that was just not affiliated with us. And so my friends and my family and the captain all got together and wished me a happy birthday. And I stood up on the seats and everybody was wishing me a happy birthday. And that was unexpected. It was really nice. But then as soon as the regular happy birthday stopped, this group in the back left breaks out to like the most beautiful, sweet sounding version of happy birthday. That was like from the soul.
Yeah, it was like a happy birthday, happy. We're like clapping and stuff like that.
It was like, different scales being hit on the whatever it is. I'm not a music person, but it was amazing. And they had some skills, and it was from the heart. And
you danced, brother.
And then I danced.
It was so soulful that you were dancing in front of everybody, better than I've ever seen you dance.
You were impressed. You came up to me afterwards. It was like, yeah. And so I went over to say thank you to this group of ladies over there, and we sat down and I said, well, what's getting you guys together on a Saturday night? And they said, well, we're a group of women that get together and we focus on financial education, tips and strategy to become financially free. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Everything happens for a reason. And so we built up a great relationship, and I hope that group continues to be a part of the show. I haven't seen anybody show up yet from the show, but I'll have to reach out to them after the show and invite them again.
I remember I came over because you sat there talking to them for a while. So I came over to be like, oh my God, Greg's making friends. I want to make friends. And you were like, hey, they know they're I thought you were messing with me.
Right.
When they knew
it was
about
like too perfect.
Yeah, it was too perfect that they had heard of the podcast. They were local investors. And yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
All right, GC. So we have a tradition here. It's called the Fan Appreciation Day.
I'm aware.
And what we're going to do is we're going to pull up Jen Filson and Renee, if Renee's with you. We're going to pull up Ken and Carolyn Moline. We're going to pull up Leslie Wilson, Lee Bishop, Aaron O'Neill, Drew Barnhill, Peter James, and Mountain Man Bill Green.
Woo, what a list.
It's an
all-star cast.
It's a heck of a list. But as this tradition, like no others, we normally start the tradition just kind of storytelling of how this year went. And when I think about this year, GC, I think of this like progression of you being right.
Oh goodness.
like I remember finishing last year and you just talking about, man, quantitative easing's going away. And what's going to happen next is mortgage rates are going to go up. And what's going to happen next is that cash flows are going to compress. And what's going to happen next is that the stock market's going to take a beating. And like, it was just like, it all played out in order, man. You want to just kind of give us from your perspective, a little rundown of how this year went?
I think, after doing this for 17 years and living through really tough times, in the real estate world and the financial world and the economy, you start to just really pay attention to the things that matter, not just in this asset class, but beyond this asset class. You realize that our job as an investor is to figure out the best place to put our risk-adjusted dollars, right? And so in order to do that, we have to look beyond real estate and see what is going on. And, one of the things I'm most thankful for as far as being a part of the show is it's forced me to spend more time and energy really understanding outside of this asset class to be able to be the best resource for all of you here. And it's, man, as soon as I started to go down that path 3 years ago, I felt this responsibility to do this as a part of the show. It just kind of lit a fire in me to really develop a deep understanding of it. And the ability to be able to share those thoughts with all of you and to be able to help all of you make really sound financial decisions, and to see those decisions actually play out, to see those, thoughts and ideas play out the way that our community together came together to predict, is really, really fun. I think when you talk about the amount of time that you all spend being a part of this community, right? You all spend hundreds of hours every week being here, right? There has to be a payoff for that, right? And our people who are a part of our community, they're savvy, they're educated, they're successful. They have things that they could be doing other than being here.
Yeah.
And so I always really feel this big burden to make sure that it's worth your time to be here. And, what we have predicted has played out largely the way that we said it was going to. And I just think that that is the beautiful part of this community. It's not me. I'm a spokesperson for all of the hard work that goes on behind the scenes here. And it may sound like I have these ideas. I don't. I mean, I have a few of them, right? But this team behind me puts these thoughts, and we have such an experience and such a footprint in this market. And we have a lot of our own dollars invested here that, it all comes together, and I get to share it with you all in a way, hopefully, that it helps. And so I think that's one of the most meaningful things over the last 3 years for me is, indulging myself in that sort of education in the beginning, and then being able to see that it's helped many of you make really, really wise decision is a real gift.
Yeah, man, that's it's really cool to see you step into that role. Because I remember when we first started this thing, and I was asking you all these questions and clarifying things with other asset classes and whatnot. You would answer them to me, but you were kind of like gun shy to do it on the show. And I'm like, man, you just gotta, you gotta understand that you're discounting your expertise, right? Like the value you have to offer others, to offer this community, is just sitting there in potential energy, and we got to unlock that thing, right? And I thought that there was a couple of things that we did to unlock that, right? A was you stepping into your own, right? Like that I think was really big. Another thing that we did was the not your average insights, which is a new thing that we introduced.
Awesome. Is awesome.
Yeah, that we introduced last year, and it was the idea of exactly this, right? Like markets changing. We for the last 10 years of operation, it just kind of looked like this and a little bit of tweaking, but you just said it in the marketing meeting. In this last year, everything changed at a rate much more fast than ever before.
Right.
So we changed our style of doing some of these shows in order to bring current topics that were on the top of the mind, like the crypto stuff, like pricing risk into like the digital future of assets and things of that sort. And I think that's led to us being able to explore other things inside of a container of, the things that really well, and allowed for really good insights from the community and for us to respond to that. And it led to then right after that was kind of you've settled on this messaging, right? This like really good core messaging, I think, that are the 3 points that you think are most important right now. You want to go through those like 3 points right now?
Yeah, absolutely. The first one is that we need to turn equity into income. And if you think about, the investing journey that we all are on, at some point you want your investments to be able to support your lifestyle. So this concept of turning equity into income, usually for people, is a very long process. That's just sort of what they've accepted. They've accepted this idea that I'm going to try to earn money and I'm going to put it into something like the stock market, which is equities, which really doesn't provide income. And then, over time, when I get near retirement age, I'll maybe invest that more in bonds, and that might create income. And so it doesn't have to be that way. And especially now, as we're going into a recession, it's even more important for us to realize that length of time to turn equities into income does not need to be that long. In fact, for your life, for your livelihood, for the way that you're supporting your everyday activities, it's much more advantageous if you can turn it into income sooner. And, so as we're going into this recession, turning equity into income is incredibly important. And of course, rental properties is one of the best ways to do that. Not only is it one of the best ways in order to do that, because of the 5 profit centers that we have, it's also one of the best ways because there are so few barriers to entry. right? You don't have to be an accredited investor to do this, right? You don't even need to live in the market that you live in order to invest in real estate, if you work with a vertically integrated provider. So turning equities into income, I think, is really, really critical for those, especially now going into 2023. The next thing to do is to focus on capital preservation, right? As we are going into a recession, there's going to be a lot of pain. I think there's going to be a lot of pain in the stock market. If you're investing in bonds right now, it's just simply not keeping up with inflation. So it's maybe not as sharp of pain that you will see probably in the future, but you're just kind of be living in pain if you look at your investments, what you're earning compared to the cost of goods and services around you. So there's going to be a lot of pain. When you are investing in an area that you foresee a lot of pain in other asset classes, capital preservation, and specifically focusing on consistency of your returns from your different profit centers, that really matters. It helps you sleep well at night. And so as you're going into the recession, focus on capital preservation. Look at those assets that are going up way like this, and probably stay away from those, because even if you actually time it on the upswing, right, there's going to be a downswing. Most savvy economic folks out there are predicting an insane amount of volatility in 2023. And some are predicting that the stock market will do better. Some are predicting that it will do worse. No matter where you land, everybody's saying it's going to be a bumpy ride. So focus on capital preservation. It's going to help you sleep well at night going into the recession. And then third is we need to have assets that beat inflation. In the past, this wasn't so much of a hurdle because inflation typically has been, call it around 3%. And it's not that hard to find an investment out there that you can earn more than 3% on your money. But there is nothing normal about this economy right now. And there's nothing normal about the economy going into 2023. We're living in not normal times. Mm-hmm. And right now, it is really hard to find an asset that you don't have to take a lot of risk that will allow you to beat inflation. When I say beat inflation, look at the consumer price index. That's the CPI. Right now, it's at 7.7%. And then when you're thinking about where you put your money, it needs to beat that. And the only thing to keep in mind is don't take outsized risks to beat it, right? Turn equities into income, number one, focus on capital preservation, work with an asset class that's consistent, and have it beat inflation. And when you look at the asset classes that are your opportunities out there of where to put your money, there aren't many better choices than rental property investing right now.
Well, if your track record says anything about this, it's probably pretty good advice. So, all right. So that's the year in review based on kind of like GC and PG's experience. Now we're going to hear what everybody wants to hear from, which is our awesome community. We're going to bring on Jen and Renee. If you want to turn your video on, one of the big things that we did this year is last year, the community became real, right? Like we did a meetup last year, but we didn't really go all in. We just got a couple signals about it. This year, we decided we would do a series of like IRL meetups, and we put somebody in charge, none other than the fairy godmother of the community, Jen Filson. Welcome to the show, Jen.
Hello.
There she is. There's her fairy godmother wand. I love it. Jen, why don't you tell us a little bit about kind of the experience of like, we're going to talk to the meetup hosts here in a second, but like your experience of going like city to city, like the fairy godmother that you are, and meeting people and setting stuff up. Give us a little bit about that.
Well, first off, I think Renee needs to be on here with me. There we go. Because Renee has been my partner in crime. He's been the one behind the camera documenting all of our awesomeness at our in real life meetups. It has been incredible. Keep in mind, we all were craving humanity and getting to know people during COVID when this show was born, right? Sure. And so we were just so chomping at the bit to finally lay eyes on each other, hug each other, hang out with each other. And the people in this community are amazing. Absolutely amazing. These are lifelong friends. We are building friendships with these people in this community. And for those of you who are feeling a little left out, like, wait a minute, how do I go to a meetup? Don't worry, there will be more. There will be more, especially if you're in California. We're going to definitely have more meetups in the Monterey Bay area. So don't you be afraid. And I'm sure we can talk Greg into doing more meetups in Jacksonville. It still needs to be discussed. But the point is that this community is real. We really want to get to know each other. We're all cheering each other on. I mean, it's just beautiful. But you've heard enough from me. Let's hear from my husband.
Let's hear it from Renee. Renee, Jen is clearly the raging extrovert in the family, and
Clearly,
you're we call you
I'm
the
the man
Filipino
behind the
Clark Kent,
scenes.
right?
That's right.
You're the superhero
That's right.
in the cloak, and that's behind the scenes. What'd you think, man? What was your experience like going and meeting all the other investors?
It was fun for me, honestly. We got to travel, go to different locations across the country. And like you said, Jen is the fairy godmother, and so she's my she's my foot in the door, so to speak. But I am the one that was behind the scenes, so to speak. But I got to get in front of the camera, and so that was it was really fun. Meeting the other investors, I'd heard their voices or seen them on the Zooms or over phone calls. So it was great to finally meet Carl in Colorado, see the bishops, of course. And then just, when we went even to other locations, just meeting different people and people who were interested in meeting the community. So it was a blast.
I tell you what, I am just so grateful. My gratitude goes well beyond the 3 years that we've been doing this show together. Jen and Renee have been clients for forever, it seems like, and they've been more than clients. They've become really great friends. We know their family so well. I think when you're starting something new, it has to be more than just, the idea that maybe we had for this show, right? You need people that just believe what you believe and are willing to work really hard and just have such a positive, giving attitude. And, Jen, I remember our first conversations when we were talking about this thing and you were helping out on the marketing side and we had these ideas, but we didn't really know what we were doing. I would love to get your perspective, Jen, knowing that you were there, day zero really of starting this thing to seeing the community that you have helped to create. What's like the biggest takeaway that you've seen over the last 3 years?
What's really cool, I think not only have we formed these lifelong friendships, right? But then also too, look at the acceleration. Look at the QVC style buying of properties.
I know.
When we're in property that we like, if it hadn't been for this community, would Renee and I already have 6 properties? I don't know. The goal has always been to buy a property a year, but we bought 3 in 2022. Wow, right? And
it's amazing.
I think I've more than paid for myself, right, Greg? But,
oh yeah.
The thing is that seriously, the fact that we all are together in this. I can call up Lee, I can call up Drew, I can call up Nadeem, I can call up Leslie, I can call up all these people and say, hey, I've got a question about this. What do you think about this, right? And Lee called me the other day looking for a real estate agent. And I was like, oh, I've got a friend. So we are in this together and we're paying it forward because we all know that we are in this race together and we're all going to cross the finish line together. We're doing it in our own different ways, but we're all cheering each other on. It's not something that we're trying to keep secret. We're trying to share the love, share the knowledge, and help others feel more comfortable about it. And I don't know about the rest of the community, but I get a lot of people asking me about the investments that I'm doing. They want to hear more and they're a little scared, but I'm like, just come to the show, come to hear everybody, talk to everyone. And if my grandmother is doing it, if my mother's doing it, if we're doing it, and we've been doing it for going on 11 years, Greg,
wow.
It's solid. It's just solid. So thank you guys for just being so educational and entertaining. That's what keeps us coming back.
I think we got a pretty good thing going on here. They highlight the entertaining thing. I don't know about the educational thing, but the entertaining thing, I think we hear that from time to time. We appreciate you.
Yeah, Jen, we're gonna bring on the Malines, the first family now, since they hosted the first. They hosted us up in Monterey. But I want to ask everybody one version of this question. And for you, I think it's a little bit different. I would love to know from you, being a not your average investor, being in real estate and doing things a little bit less traditionally, and being able to lead these meetups. How would you say that how you are perceived as a business person and as the thought leader that you are in other areas of your life has changed based on the fact that you are also an investor and doing all these other things? Has that changed anything for you?
That's a great question. I think everyone knows that I'm all over the place and that's just me. right?
Yeah.
But I do see a lot of respect. Like, for example, just this morning, I'm on a phone call with one of my favorite clients in Ocala, Florida, and he's loving the fact that he and I can talk about things beyond just the marketing that we do for his business. We're talking about our gross revenue for the year. We're talking about our net revenue for the year. We're talking about how would we share our knowledge about mindset, not just business, but what are you going to do with the investments outside of your business? And he's invited me to be a co-coach with him in starting a new business venture. So yes, I do believe that I have grown in a lot of ways. And then also too, let's not forget, let me show off my brand new business card. I'm officially a property manager for Pacific Grove Property Management and the Monterey Peninsula. I got my first property management client yesterday.
No way.
Let's go.
Congratulations.
I'm so excited. I got to tour her house. And let me tell you, vacation rentals are way different from what JWB is doing.
Right.
It's a whole different animal. But like, thank you guys. You guys have changed my life. You've changed our lives because we now have a clear path toward retirement. Yay, knock on wood. We just are benefiting so much from you guys being in our lives. So of course we're growing. And yes, let's bring on the money.
I love it. And there will be more meetups in 2023, Jen. Don't you worry.
Yay! See, everybody, you heard it straight from the horse's mouth. So we got him. Woo!
Love it. Love it. Jen, I got to give it up to you and Renee, right?
Oops, my,
No commission.
yeah,
Everything's okay.
my Siri just came on.
Well, listen, I just wanted to compliment you and Renee a lot, right? Like, I think it's, we needed somebody to really like spearhead this thing and spear this program in order to bring this like magical experience to everybody else. And you both really took it on. And, you know, you talk about becoming a property manager and you got your real estate license. You've done all these things like you are, and acquired 3 properties in 2022.
Amazing.
Like you are the model of like this like curve bending growth that we're hoping to see from folks that really pour into the community and get exponential results back. So thank you for carrying that flag for us.
Love you guys.
Love
All
you.
right.
Thank you, guys.
All right. See ya. Okay. So now we are going to bring on the first family of the Not Your Average Investor
All right.
community here. We got Ken Molina. It is great to see you both. Ken, I just want to kind of highlight you insisted on hosting this first of like the meetups that we had in Northern California. You insisted on hosting it. You insisted on having people in your home. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience?
Yeah, it was a big party. We all got together. Oh, I don't know, there was about 25 of us or so. And one by one, we went around the family room with Greg up on the big screen, and everybody got to have a chat with Greg while he interacted with us. That was quite nice.
You know, I just think about, I just think it's kind of unique to find your own place and call that a community, largely an online community. And it's so rare to take the online community and take that into IRL in real life. And then to have one of our community members open up their home, right? This is not your average community that we've built right here. And, I'm just so thankful that, you all have, offered that ability to make this so real for everybody, especially those who attended. For you guys, I look at your growth and I'm just so astounded at the quality of the decisions that you made that weren't easy decisions. Can you talk about, maybe what the show or the community has helped you do to have confidence to make some of the decisions, like, for example, the reverse mortgage that you took out. And as we detailed how that generated over $125,000 in net rental income for you guys. That's a tough decision. What has the community helped in that regard to give you the confidence to make some decisions that maybe average investors don't make?
Well, we started out with a pocket full of cash owing to the fact that we had taken out a reverse mortgage. And this was before you had started honing in on the need to take equity and put it into income. So we were already on board. And then that was 3 months before your Not Your Average Investor show started. So we were rolling along, and we also finalized our first home that we bought through financing in January of that year, 19, was it?
Mhm.
2019? Anyway, we were already on board, Greg, with your idea of putting equity to work. This year, I don't know if you want us to talk about that yet, but I'll put in a quick quip. We keep rolling along. We hosted the family meetup in January or February, I can't remember which. And then we looked at down the road and we saw inflation as a big obstacle or a big opportunity
Mhm.
to get ahead of the game. And so we took one of our homes that was totally owned, did a cash out refi on it in February. And through that, we were able to buy 2 more homes by the middle of the year. And we also finalized the year by doing a, what do you call it, the private investing.
Mhm.
Carolyn turned her 401k into private investment money, and she's earning 10% per year on that.
Awesome.
It's amazing. You know, he knew about turning equities into income even before we started to talk about this on the show. And he's really kind of lived that, you know, and his family's been able to see the benefits of doing that. It's just amazing having you guys a living, breathing success story within this community.
I want to talk about the family story. Karen, if we can unmute you and mute Ken so that we don't have feedback, I would love to know, I get the sense that that Ken takes like real duty of kind of like disseminating this information across the family. Karen, can you give us a little bit of behind the scenes of what it's like to be the first family of the Not Your Average Investor community, and how much, you know, what y'all have kind of turned this into like a family event? I would just love to hear a little bit about that and kind of how it's affected you.
Well, my husband and I are normally overseas and we are volunteers. And so for us, we needed a source of additional passive income as well. Yeah, my husband and I, we were looking for a source of passive income that we could do something with his 401k plan as well. And likewise did the lending. And yeah, it's just providing an additional source for us. But I think more so just the first thing that comes to mind when it comes to property rentals and such is more so the maintenance side of things. And my husband was like, I don't want any part of that property management. No. But just seeing my dad, how he can be so hands off, so to say, and so pleased at the same time, just really going gung ho with this. And so, you know, we kind of like teetered a little bit and okay, hope it's working for you. But, and the other thing that's kind of scary is when you start talking reverse mortgages and, you know, because they have a reputation of their own.
Mhm.
So it's the type thing where we were like, are you really sure you know what you're doing? But through this process, I've learned more about my parents and especially my dad. Like, I didn't even know that at one time before I was born, he had a realtor's license. I was like, wait, what? So, yeah, I mean, I thought he had dabbled in rental income before, but I didn't know that he was actually in real estate. So yeah, it's drawn us a little closer as far as literally being family. And then also just seeing this avenue, and then, you know, from week to week, watching you guys on the show. When I'm in the Philippines, the timing of it and my schedule doesn't always allow, but when I'm here, we are watching the show and just learning those 5 components of the, you know, the passive income, you know, the
Mhm.
different ways that you combat, especially this inflation. It's like, wow. So yeah, I've come a long way even in my own journey, but just watching my dad and seeing him just go from the reluctance to spend on this or that, or, you know, where, you know, they've always taught us to, how would you say, like, not hold the belt tightly, but at the same time, be careful that you're not always like, be frugal.
Right.
You know, we were brought up in Los Altos, but at the same time, we weren't brought up as if we had a silver spoon in our mouth either. We were realistic in that respect. So, and basically just trusting the Lord for everything. But it's just Yeah, the long and the short of it is this has been proven to be a really good avenue for him, especially since he's outlived his retirement. And then for me, reaching an age where I need to start thinking, I mean, I don't know that I'll ever retire from what I do because I love volunteering. But at the same time, I enjoy the idea of being able to do more of what I'm doing because I'm going to also get to that point where I have increased passive income that I can play with and be generous with. That's my end goal. So yeah.
Amazing.
So much, Karen, and may I refer to you as the Duchess, of course.
The Duchess.
Yes.
Madam Duchess. So much that I can relate to there. You know, I mean, as I start to think about like the greatest impact that I could have as a dad would be, you know, helping my daughter or my son be able to live, you know, their life to the fullest. And we've had so many clients that talk about their why for investing. And their why is to help their children build up a passive income stream so that they can choose their line of work based on their passion rather than trying to make a buck. You know, and then so that's something that I would love to do for my son and my daughter as well. I can totally relate to. And it seems like that's what you're creating for yourself, of course, but that's also what the first family over there, Ken and Carolyn, have been able to do as well, either through income or through education, right? And so it's so wonderful to see somebody who is giving so much in your volunteer work over in the Philippines, and following your passion. To know that passive income makes that a little bit more possible for you. I just think that's a beautiful thing. I'm so happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, you love talking about the why and the thing that it enables. For me, what that stuck out in that story, and we're gonna bring Leslie Wilson on in a second, is I'm obsessed with two things. One is how making content for folks allows them to share and learn from each other. And then in the other way is when you apply it for business is one thing, but when you apply it for family, it's a whole nother thing, right? Like this idea that like I see content as like a family heirloom. The fact that we've been able to have Ken on twice, you know, Ken, your great grandkids are going to be able to like see you being interviewed, and know what their great granddad did for them in setting up this portfolio in their future, you know, and in real time allows you to like learn and gain from each other, man.
Wow.
Like that to me is just like, that is something that I've always kind of like thought about. And again, this community, this show allows this thing that I've thought about come to reality in your stories. So thank you so much for hosting it. Thank you for sharing this stuff. And I just really appreciate the heck out of we salute you.
We salute you. Thank you guys so much.
Bye, Melise. Thanks for coming on. We get to bring on our old friend Leslie here, who
Hey, Leslie.
I got to meet Leslie in Vegas.
I know.
In November, but Leslie, you were one of kind of like the chapter leaders of the Denver chapter of hosting this. You want to tell us a little bit about how it went when you got together in the Mile High City?
It's so great to be able to actually meet people that you've only met virtually or on Zoom. And I just love this city, and I love taking Renee and Jennifer around, you know, town. And it's also very nice because I'm a single lady, no kids. I found your podcast during the pandemic. And then I agreed so much with what Greg was seeing out in the marketplace that I refinanced 2 of my rentals and my personal residence. And then I was ready to go shopping. And so I bought 5 houses all at once. The money was burning a hole in my pocket. But my other friends thought I was crazy.
Right.
Why are you buying more rental properties? And I said, oh, I just love them. And then when you offered your little special for the end of the year, I was like, oh, shoot, interest rates are up, but I have a secret little spot of cash. So when I heard that Jen and Renee bought another one, I had to go get number 6 too. So it's fun to have like-minded people where you speak the same language and you don't have to have that doubting Thomas to say, you've lost your mind buying these rental properties in Florida. Haven't you heard they have hurricanes there? And, you know, so.
You know, I just remember very early on, as you were part of the community, Leslie, that there was this connection that we had, and there was a very like-minded thought process in you know, and And I also remember you sharing your story prior to becoming a part of this community and prior to becoming a JWB client. And I was just so blown away. You shared with me that you're single mom. Is that right? Yeah.
I have 2 cats.
You have 2 cats. I can go back to my childhood. I was raised by a single mom. And, I know just how challenging that was, especially in an environment of the investment world, where my mom was routinely told she couldn't do this. She wasn't this. There's no way she could be successful doing this. And I remember you sharing maybe elements of that. And I remember some of the struggles that you had early on in real estate prior to working with JWB, where you stubbed your toe a little bit and maybe trusted some folks that really weren't worthy of your trust or didn't work out well. So I just look at you as just the shining example of, just a woman just really crushing it. And I'm just really, really proud of your success. And, I'm so thankful that you're such an active part of this community, because, we need to have more examples just like you. And I think other people love your story and they learn and they grow just simply by you being here.
Well, you gotta always be open and learn to trust again. After I was burnt in Detroit with a bunch of just lipstick and baling wire rehab people, it was horrible.
Yeah.
And then, you catch the tiger by the tail and you get scratched. And so I watched you for quite a while because I thought, no. And all I did, Greg, was watch the prices of the properties go up. And so that's why I said, this is going to be my year. I'm going to actually jump in. So I'm really glad that I did. And this podcast made it easier for me to trust you, because even though, we're just on the computer, I feel you do get a good sense of who this community is. And so I'm really thankful to you guys to do this.
Man, Leslie, so cool. I love your story. Again, with the whole vision of the thing, it was this idea, we're not your average investors, right? Like what you said, I think you were the prototypical person where it's like, it would have been so much harder not to give into it. I was telling Greg this story about when I tried to use a chiropractor in Southern California, and they went in, they did this adjustment, and they showed that I had a real crooked back, and I know I do. And then I was all pumped up to sign up for it. And I went home and I told my parents, they're like, what do you mean? Chiropractors are crazy. And, I got all these data points that I think it's very simple, and I never did it. And to this day, I have a ton of back pain and I can't sleep right. But this idea that we could surround you with other like-minded people that allowed you to take on that buying 5 properties. You didn't just get back in. You went all in immediately.
Right.
Man, it's and we started calling it bundles, and it's something that hadn't happened in a long time. And, you just really coined that for us. And then the other piece is the other part of your story that I love that you shared for the first time on the first fan appreciation show. That was this idea of not being taken seriously because you were the woman in the room doing the real estate deal. Man, I grew up like a raging feminist inside this Hispanic household. So it just means a lot to me to be able to see your success and have you come on. And you always have these succinct speaking points, and you speak so eloquently.
Yeah.
It's just awesome. Thank you so much for being here, Leslie. This is really cool. And thanks for hosting Denver. I'm sorry I didn't get to go, but I'll be there soon.
I'm going to come down to Jacksonville too. So I'll see you soon, hopefully.
Love
All
that.
right.
Love that. Love that. All right. See you, Leslie.
See you, Leslie.
And up next is a man that I think everybody knows. He's the MVP of the show and the community for a reason. And, that reason is really the fact that not only was he what we call our original super consumer, that first person that's igniting conversation and getting the chat going. And that's what really leads to people feeling like they belong and all these things. But man, Lee, I think what people don't see, and I think a lot of folks in this chat probably do know, is the amount of time you spend on the phone with people.
Yeah.
Just you're such a helper. You're so quick to throw out your phone number and explain these long-winded topics and different things that people don't understand that you understand and do so well. And man, that's what makes you the MVP, man, is just how giving you have been and how many people you've spent one-on-one time with it through this podcast, beyond in your personal life. I know that you're doing this all the time. So welcome back 3 years in a row, MVP title, Lee Bishop, man. What's up, buddy?
It's great to be on the show. I just love what JWB has to offer and how they present it. It's almost like paying it forward because they took care of me when I first got involved. I didn't know anything about them before I went to the, Fortune Builder thing, and I found out about passive investing, and JWB really truly embraces the passive investing piece of it. And it's no worries for me. I just had an incident where, they said, oh, well, you have $1,100 item, and they said, how do you want to do it? How do you want to proceed? And I said, hey, does the tenant need any help? Because my number one concern is with any of my tenants, as you know, right? So I said, are they still able to be in the house okay? And they're like, yeah, what are you talking about? They're fine. I mean, that's always my worry, right? And so, probably you said I spend a lot of time on the phone. I love helping this community. These people feel like family. Jen, Renee, Anthony, Dita, all these people that I talk to or have talked to, they may or may not be on the show or not, but if they've been on the show and they've seen my phone number and they give me a call and say, what's your experience? And good or bad, one of my first issues was, I say, Greg, is it okay when we had our first meetup down there, when I first saw you guys, I said, is it okay to talk about this? And you said, it happened. You might as well talk about it. And the wonderful thing was how JWB community rallied around that, fixed the issue. Within 2 weeks, I had a new tenant in, and I said, well, what's that going to cost me? And they're like, no, that was our mistake. And I was like, man, you can't get a management company to admit they made a mistake and then fix it and then not charge you anything for it. I was like, I'm all in. If they need anything, let me know. I'm going to talk to anybody I need to. And it was funny, the amount of people that I talked to, and then I find out, we bought like 3 houses, and I was like, jeez, well, I guess I talked them off a fence or something.
You were influential, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny that I don't really see it because I'm not involved in JWB, but I love that I'm able to help people get over their issues, their problems, their worries. And, because I have such confidence in JWB and the team that you have built, truly amazing people. And, it doesn't matter who I talk to. I called in and tried to talk to my portfolio manager, and they said, well, she's in a meeting now. Can you talk to somebody else? And, they say, well, let me bring up your investment portfolio. Oh, okay. Yeah, we know what the issue is. So the way that your team rallies around anything that has to do with support just completely makes it passive, and it's a joy to work with you. I swear. Karen said, I love that, she trusts you, right? And, a confused mind won't trust. You have to have trust to be able to invest. And you coming on this show and giving us access to you personally, right? I mean, this is not Greg, the TV portfolio manager. You're a real life person, and this is how you're genuine. When I've met you, this is how you've been. It's been genuine. So we're seeing the genuine Greg, and that comes across. The friendship that you developed with Pablo over the last 3 years has been amazing. We love to see the banter. And I say all the time, I sit here and I'm laughing as much as I'm getting information. And my wife's going, you've been on this show 3 years. So are you still getting anything out of it? And I said, well, you never know when that golden nugget's going to come out. Like that incentive for 10 grand, right? That incentive that's going to match about 10 grand for January. That's amazing. I wouldn't have known about that if I had not been coming on the show and watching and listening, smiling.
I just think like the beauty of this show is that we all just get to be real, right? You don't do something for 3 years straight doing a show twice a week. And sometimes, more than that, right? You don't do that unless it's real, right? You'd burn out, right? And so I'm so thankful that we get the opportunity to be real. And Lee, I have always been blown away. You talked about how much he cares. I'll tell you, the first time that I ever gave Lee a big bear hug was at the Fortune Builders Ignite conference. This was
Yep.
probably 4 years ago now. And I had reached out to a few folks ahead of time and said, hey, you know what? We'll be having a film crew there. We'd like to film some testimonials there. Would you like to give a testimonial? And so I met Lee probably like, geez, it was probably 2 minutes before I was about to go on stage and teach for like an hour and a half. So I was, and I came up and got to give Lee a big bear hug. And he pulls out like 3 pages of notes that he had written down, that he had prepared in advance to make sure that he gave the best testimonial he could have. And so that always stuck out in my mind. Like, he cares. He cares so much, even when it's inconvenient, you know? And then we got to meet you here.
Yep.
When you and
I
Jane
did the
were
same
here.
thing when I met Pablo. I had 3 pieces of paper written down. I said, here, Pablo, you want me to give these to you?
Yeah, that's a great story, right? So Lee's here for the client tour when we were first starting the show, and we, you know, pre-COVID, we were just gonna like record these episodes all in one day, have people come into the studio. And because we had the client tour, I think Lee raised his hand to come and give. And I that was when I met him. And I'm like sitting behind the camera asking him questions. And I did probably about like 3 of these.
Yeah.
Of course, Lee shows up with notes. He's ready to go, gives the most amazing testimonial. And Lee, do you remember this? He gets up and he finished, and I was like, hey man, is it cool if I hug you? You know, I couldn't help but like just want like a big bear hug from this guy.
Hugs from Lee are like spot on, right? I want one of those right now, Lee. You got to get down here.
Yeah, I know. I'm overdue. Jane and I are overdue for getting down there and seeing you guys again. It's, you know, we love coming down and seeing everybody, but now that we have a new portfolio manager, I'd like to see her and you know, give her a hug.
Lee, we're gonna bring Aaron O'Neill on we're gonna bring Aaron O'Neill right in a second. But Lee, just give us a little, you know, I wanted you to give a little kind of behind the scenes stuff. You drove from Baltimore to Pittsburgh to host the Pittsburgh event with B and Bill, right? Like, just give us a little bit about that event, and then we can talk to Aaron.
Yeah, so we said, well, we could do it in Baltimore, but you know, I said Baltimore's dangerous. Why don't we go to Pittsburgh? There'd probably be more people in Pittsburgh, and we thought we were going to have like 10, 15 people there, and it ended up being an intimate group with Jen and Renee and B and Bill, and you know, I think there was another couple, maybe not. But I mean, it was nice because B knows everything about Pittsburgh. So we were driving around in our car, and you know, and they're giving us a tour of this city that Jane said, oh, I thought I knew Pittsburgh, you know, because she grew up just outside of Pittsburgh. So we hosted that, got to know them, and they are really, truly friends now. And we got to see them in their house, B and Bill at their house, and Jen and Renee were just as awesome as they could be. They were genuine. And just we one of the activities was going out on this cruise ship, you know, to see the sights of the harbor. And as we're sitting there in our shirts like this, you know, and they're like, JWB, we live in Jacksonville. We know JWB. And so we started talking to this group, and I think they even invested in a house, you know, because they heard us talking, and they came over there like, oh, what are you guys talking about? So it doesn't, you know, when you're talking about in real life, you know, you can't help things that happen, right? I mean, just it's so cool to see people who hear what you have to say and want to get involved with what you're saying and want to know more. And you know, with these JWB shirts on, we were like walking billboards, and these people were like, I'm gonna have to call somebody. So I got the phone number of JWB. I'm giving it to them. I'm like, hey, you want to talk and ask to, you know? So they were all excited about investing, and they weren't even part of our group.
It's amazing. That is like, you know, at the end of the day, right? This is a marketing expense for what we're doing, but marketing doesn't have to be like pitchy or salesy or whatever. You can just simply have a conversation, and, you know, good things will come from it. Like, that's really kind of like, if you build it, they will come mentality when we built the show. And I think that's a great example of that, right? Let's just get good people together, and, oh, wow, there's a Jacksonville investor who's interested in investing in rental properties. Sure, we can talk to you about it. And you know, so.
Yeah. Oh, it was funny because I said to Jen, oh, I'm going to have this overhead projector, you know, and we're going to be doing a slideshow, and Jen's going, no, that's not what this is. And I was cracking up. I was like, oh man, I spent all this time putting together a PowerPoint presentation, and it ended up just being a 6 of us. But I said, it would have been really funny to meet in somebody's house. Yeah, I would love to host it in Baltimore. If I knew there was anybody in Baltimore, I would say, hey, come on over to our house. We got plenty of wine over here and we can talk about whatever you want. But, I just I'm not sure that anybody would come from Baltimore, or if that's in Baltimore would come to Baltimore, I would host it,
We'll see, buddy. We'll see. We'll see if we can make that happen for you. Lee, you're the best, man. You are the MVP of this community. We appreciate the heck of you, man.
Thank you
for
so
doing
much,
this
Lee.
again.
Guys, we love you. See ya.
And now for Aaron into the light. Oh, Aaron, you want to unmute yourself and tell us?
Yeah, good.
Yeah, tell us.
Guys, I got every light in the house on, so I better be.
You look beautiful.
You look great
and well lit.
Aaron,
good. Good.
We got to meet you in person at the Jacksonville event. You came all the way down from Massachusetts. You want to tell us a little bit about coming down from Massachusetts to come to the Jacksonville event?
Well, first of all, I bought in 2020 at the end of January, and I was at the last meetup, last tour before COVID.
Yeah.
And the first thing Greg said, just come up to me and he said, would you like to do a video? Come on. And I couldn't do it then because I actually didn't tell my brother that I actually did this. And I was one of those, I've been waiting to invest for a long time and I wanted to do something, but I didn't know how to do it. And I finally figured out that the passive income was the best way to do it. I actually just, I had some CDs in the bank and I talked to fortune builders and JWB sent me some homes and I said, I'm going to go for this new construction, Lake Mist. And I said, and I actually went through with it. I couldn't believe it. I came down and we toured and I couldn't actually get up into the van. So
Yeah.
I actually had to go with Mike Stewart and we actually rode around Jacksonville for about 2 hours. And so I got to see my house and it was wonderful. Yeah, it was great. It was
Aaron,
great.
You have such a special place in our hearts here at JWB. I remember meeting you the first time when you came down for that client tour and having lunch with you, and you just have this incredibly positive, atmosphere around you.
Yeah.
And my whole team knows of it.
No, I wanted to do it, but I couldn't, Greg, because I didn't tell my brother that I actually did this. I told nobody.
Yeah.
I just decided to just do it.
Do they know now?
I didn't tell my family that I actually invested.
Yeah.
Now everybody knows, so you're
okay, good.
I'm fine. But and I've been great for the last 3 years, but I couldn't. I was thinking if I gone on and they'd seen me on Facebook or something, I was like, oh no.
Well, how do they feel about you, about the investment now?
Oh no, they think it's great. And even my cousin who's a financial planner and he says that's great. And I've been doing very well. I pay very few taxes thanks to you guys.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Were you always a fan of tax savings like I am, or is this a relatively new thing?
No, but yes, obviously, but now that I know that I can, write off all the real estate expenses and real estate, then I'm all good. I'm all for it.
That's why I spend Friday nights, just thinking about tax savings and reading articles. I mean, that's my MO. That might be in your future.
I was down in Florida over Christmas and it was very, very cold down.
Yeah.
It was very, very cold. And but I loved coming down. I love coming down to the meetup and actually meeting a lot of people. I haven't met some people yet, but I loved meeting your dad, Greg.
Yeah.
And I loved meeting Pablo and my portfolio manager and Jen's mom. And everybody, and Noah and Lee. I mean, they helped me all day. Leonard was very helpful and everybody was very helpful. Had a blast.
Well, there's another one coming up soon. I don't know if we're ready to release the date. I'll leave that up to this guy, but
I think we're ready. I
Okay.
think we're ready. I think Jen's got to log off so she can hear it. We're going to do another one in Jacksonville.
we are.
GC, why don't you tell everybody the good news?
February 25th. That is going to be our next Not Your Average Investor community meetup. It'll be here in Jacksonville. We're still putting all the plans together, but go ahead and bookmark that date. That's a Saturday, February 25th. And we would love for especially everybody who is here as a part of the show every single week, twice a week. It would be a great opportunity for you to come on down, get to see and meet all the folks that, quite frankly, make this community so special. So bookmark that date, February 25th.
What do you think, Aaron? You think you're going to join us?
I'll look into it. Look into it. Believe me.
You don't have to commit right now. We're going to bring on a couple more folks. We're going to bring on Mountain Man Bill Green. We're going to bring on Sir Peter James in the order that Madison can get him up here, or Drew, if you're ready to come on. Aaron, I would just love to know, you said you had to keep it hidden from your family and now it's out in the open.
My brother, now they're okay with it, but my brother and my father, who passed away, but they kind of heard about fortune builders and they were, this is not legit. It's this, kind of thing. And so I thought, oh boy, I got to keep this under wraps a little bit before I, do it. But now that I've gone and I've seen everybody and I've met everybody and I've seen your office and we've actually visited Jacksonville and we went around town in a big bus and we had a blast. We really did. I couldn't be happier. And I'm so glad that you guys actually purchased that big building that you showed us, which was great.
Yeah,
which was great.
We'll definitely take a tour around that for sure in February.
And I actually get to go to Sweet Pete's Candy, and I loved it.
There you go.
Local favorite. Aaron, thank you for stepping
into the lights,
hanging out with us today. We hope to see you soon.
Hey, Aaron.
Thank
go
you,
Steelers.
guys.
Go
Bye.
Steelers, Aaron.
I'm still working on that nickname for you.
All right. Bye.
Bye. See ya.
All right. Now we got a guy that I think we've all been waiting to see. He's kind of been the newest star of the show here. We got Mountain Man Bill Green coming on the show here.
Welcome to the show, buddy.
Thank you, guys. I had to go out because of Jen and buy a video camera. This is like new to me. So thanks for your patience, guys.
This is great, man. Bill, what made you join the community and be such like a fervent participant so quickly, man? We'd love to hear about that.
Well, maybe like with MVP, I was Fortune Builders, started in 2017, and I would go to the Ignites, and then you guys were there talking about passive income and the 5 ways to make money on buy and holds. And it's kind of cool the way you guys set it up is, you're teaching us, we're taking notes furiously. And then at the end of it, it's like, oh, but by the way, if you contact JWB, we got it all ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it's a no brainer. So instantly connected with you guys, been working with your pro Max and getting to know Jen and so now we're doing a 1031 and
That's right.
Hopefully my condo that I'm using the 1031 for sells pretty soon, or I go under contract so I can take care of this or take part of this tremendous deal that you guys have going.
Yeah. Wow. That's incredible. Now, and there's a lot of advanced strategies that you're employing right there. 1031 exchange is one right off the bat. Would love to know a little bit about your journey. It sounds like you started in Fortune Builders in 2017. Was real estate in your background before this, or how much of a leap of faith is starting to build your rental property portfolio and doing a 1031 exchange?
Oh my gosh. Well, in 2017, prior to that, I was a TV producer for about for 25 years.
Wow.
And so it's all kind of a huge leap. Luckily, it was a process where I got to do some fix and flips and got to learn and again, going to Ignite and ingesting all the education. So I had that advantage. So I know it's a little bit different hurdle for someone coming in brand new, but my gosh, I think, anybody out there that's on the fence, you can get enrolled in this in such a short manner of time because it's really a no-brainer, in my opinion.
I love it, Bill. Bill, man, this thing we want to keep growing the community and we want to keep doing it. And this doesn't happen without, guys like you kind of coming in and immediately feeling at home. And I just think it's so great that you've done it. My biggest question for you was, what'd you think about Greg's dancing before we presented at Fortune Builders? Did that throw you off at all?
Yeah, that's great. Great energy, especially, we're in Vegas, okay? So some of us are coming in a little bit maybe hungover, if you will. So get that Greg energy going.
You know what the problem was? That was literally the worst dancing that anybody's ever seen, which was offset by the best dancing anybody's ever seen on the boat ride where they sang to me. So I just need the right chorus. I need the right, backdrop of musical talent. I think that's what was holding me back there. Awesome, man.
Bill, it's great to see you, man. I hope that you stick around and just keep hanging out with us. Come to the meetup if you can in February. Would love to grab a beer with you if you're into that, or a glass of or a cup of tea.
That'd be great. Sorry, we've got deer all over the place up here. Sorry, that was Rudiger, the snot-nosed reindeer.
Love it.
And for the record, I think I won the wager. I said salt and pepper beer.
You did?
I did. That is exactly how I pictured it.
I said that he was going to have a snot-nosed reindeer. I think I won the wager.
It's funny. I know we got to go, but I keep looking out here. There's a gigungous squirrel out here, but of course now he's gone. So if he comes, I'll show it to you next time.
Mountain Man stories from
Mountain Man. We'll bring you back on at another point, man. Thanks for coming on and being a new member of the community, man. We love having you.
See you, buddy.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
See you, man. And now we have a gentleman
and a
scholar of a high esteem. Look at him showing up, man. Look at this guy, the Sir Peter James from the Commonwealth of Virginia. Tip of the cap to you, sir. Sir Peter, I know that Greg's met you in person. We've spoken on the phone. First time I get to see you. You don't disappoint with your debonair class and great looks, my friend. Welcome to the show.
Happy New Year, man.
There we are.
There he is. Sir Peter, what you came on here and you immediately kind of like created a nickname for yourself by talking about the Commonwealth of Virginia. You gave us the fodder to bring you into the fold. How did you stumble onto the community and like what made you want to be such a part of it since you become?
Very good question. So I'm with Fortune Builders. I'm an inner circle. Maria and I, we are both inner circle members, and we have been thinking about passive income, but I have been pushing active income. And then we decided that 2019, was it? I forget the year when we started, but we decided that we're going to look out for, can we find some properties out there to get some passive income? And we ended up in Memphis, Tennessee. And then we continued to research and we found you guys. And we were blown away with your all the reviews and the fact that, Jacksonville was a very prime area. The capital appreciation was just amazing. And to top it off, I got a peep into your show once and I was hooked from there on. What made it so special is the fact that I like you guys' chemistry. I like the knowledge. I like the bantering. And I feel, Pablo, you ask very, very good questions.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. So the questions that you're asking, I can see that Greg needs to think about it sometimes, and they're normally very thoughtful. So I'm on because I recognize that it feels like a family. I'm learning something new. I might not be able to be on for the full hour or hour and a half because I have a very busy schedule, but I still make time because I really feel that there's value in education. So that's very, very important.
And I got the pleasure of meeting you and your lovely wife here in Jacksonville. And you want to talk about just a burst of positive energy coming through the door is when I got to meet Peter and his wife here. So, first of all, I think your nickname was critical to your involvement in this community. I think it was the jumping off point. I think number one, I would love for you to give some advice on how others can also establish a nickname within the community, because you came up with one of the first ones that we fell in love with, that we have, hand motions to. And then number two, Peter, I can tell that, this is a commitment. This is a commitment of time for you to be a part of this community. And clearly, that's a tough thing. You're a busy guy. A couple things. I would love to know why you continue to make that commitment. And then as we look into 2023, what is something that's going to keep you coming back? What's something that you'd like us to deliver on the show to make sure that we have more Sir Peter James from the esteemed Commonwealth in our life?
Oh man, that's an interesting question. So what made me come back is that I'm always curious to see what your topics are going to be. And to the extent that you provide information, not just around real estate, but also around the market, around taxation, all the issues that are impacting that particular asset class. So the more you diversify, or let's say provide insights around the real estate market, but other asset classes, it will definitely pique my interest, because at the end of the day, when we were pursuing passive income, we thought of how many real estate do we need to get out of a rat race, because we are highly technical people. I'm just incurable extrovert, so that I can't help myself with that. But the bottom line is that as long as you're providing that part of it, I'm going to be coming on. Might not necessarily be able to put on the full hour and a half, but I will basically, every time I see your topic, that's what piques my interest. So that's something that I would recommend, that if you keep continuing for 2023. Now, the last thing I would say is that our goal is to buy a property every year. So the thing is that as we look at the various asset classes, we finally going to be moving over into the commercial real estate stuff. So when you were doing a presentation on commercial real estate, that piqued my interest. And I said, it's worth my time, because I have been to Fortune Builders Boot Camp back in Florida earlier on in the summer. And that was very educational. But to have this slot dedicated to commercial real estate, which is where we want to really tap into, it's also a biggie for us. So it's not just a single family, but also for commercial. Does that answer your question?
Perfect. It actually reinforces a lot of things that Pablo and I have been thinking. So it's really wonderful to have that sort of validation. I think the value of this community is so much more than just rental properties. It's helping to understand similarities or differences amongst those asset classes that might be closely related, right? Commercial real estate, syndications, REITs, those sort of, other alternatives. And then something that's a little bit more adjacent, right? More, in the stocks and bonds world. So there's going to be a lot more coming down the pike there. And we're already thinking of show ideas coming up in the near future that are I think that we'll keep you coming back in 2023, my friend.
And then the last thing I would say is that the more you get, let's say you get some outside guests who are specialists in their particular field, those are very, very important for me, because the credibility is very, very important to keep my interest. So to the extent that you have credible presenters, I'm not suggesting that you haven't had, but whichever topic that you pick, that's what's going to pique my interest and keep me coming back many more times. And I'm always happy to promote myself as from the distinguished Commonwealth of Virginia.
You know what, Sir Peter, you make my job easy here to keep the thing going, right? From the way that you show up in the chat, to make it easy to give you a nickname, to these amazing suggestions, right? Like, another thing that you validated for us is this idea, and maybe let me know in the community if this is true, but we put a lot of thought into like the title, because we assume that the title, if we got to showcase exactly what you're going to be learning about in the title, because we believe that drives the engagement and the variability. So that's another great kind of like signal that you gave us that we're on the right path there. This idea of widening the topics was something we really leaned into this year. So thank you so much for that feedback and being such a great part of the community, man. And I think at some point we're going to have you on a property of the week, a guest investor, but we keep the suggestions coming. Like we love to say that this is a community driven show, and we definitely take serious that you take an hour of your day in a busy schedule, my friend. So that really means a lot to me, all these suggestions. So thanks for being on today. I'm glad the rest of the community got to see just how much of a classy gentleman you are today.
Tip of the cap to you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Awesome.
Oh,
Wow.
geez,
What a
3
show,
years.
man. If that doesn't fill your love bucket, I don't know what does, right?
Agreed, man. It's funny because on the podcast, we just re-released yesterday the first show.
Yeah.
Right. And the first show was on the back end of having interviewed these like 8 interviews. And I really didn't know you that well back then. And I remember you kind of like, I loved re-listening. So I really encourage everybody that's on here right now, go back and go listen to the latest episode of the podcast, because it's a reliving of the first show. And what you're going to see is that, number one, everything that we set out to do is exactly what's happening, right? Like we set out to like create this community strategy, this idea that we bring on other experts, that we get to talk to them. And you're going to see that Greg coming into it was kind of dreading it all.
I didn't quite know what we were creating, the monster we were creating. And I was a little scared because this is not my natural resting place, I would say, as far as being on social and being in front of a camera multiple hours a week. But man, when you think about what we created, and when we think back to the first time you and I sat down for a drink, and I just came to you with my challenges on the marketing side, and I was just like, I feel like there's something here. I don't know how to unlock it. What we have created is exactly the vision you painted. But I think if you remember, you painted that vision and you saw my eyes, and I was like, and then you scaled it back and you're like, well, let me just start you with square one. We're going to do a show. And then over time, you let me into the little secret inside your dome of what it could become. But as we're sitting here 3 years later, it's man, and we get to hear from all of our just all-stars that just took their time to share their stories. I mean, this is, investing in rental properties and really building a business has to be a lot more than selling rental properties and doing property management, right? We got to hear real life stories of families that are being impacted and goals that are being accomplished, and obstacles that people told people they couldn't do something, and now they have 5 properties in a year, and people's lives changing. And man, that's what we have up on our wall at JWB. Is we're here to change people's lives. And so this has just been an incredible day, and I'm just so grateful for all of you. Yeah, man, I'm grateful that you took the shot, that we're here 3 years later. I mean, obviously our friendship is something that has forever changed my life. And, I saw this idea of community as a viable strategy because I had an inkling based on having gone to your golf tournament, having seen your culture, and just assuming that the people that JWB does business with are a different breed of person, right? Like that is the whole genesis of the show, the Not Your Average Investor Show. We're not an average community. You are not an average investor. You're thinking about things a little bit differently. And in order to do that, you have to create this platform for people to not be dissuaded by the average folks around us, because most people are average. Right. And so we're surrounded by them and we love them, but we need this outlet. We needed this community in order to make these decisions, in order to stick to them, in order to find out about them. And I just love that the whole thesis has come true. And 3 years later, here we are. We have a whole bunch of new friends. Right. Like there's no other way to put it than these folks are our friends, and special, you are one of my best friends. Right. So I love you, buddy. Yeah, I love you too, man. 3 years, man. 3 years. Many more. 3 years, many more. So I guess that's it. We just appreciate the heck out of you taking an hour of your day to an hour and a half today of living through this and being part of the Fan Appreciation Show. Go to NYAIS. If you stuck through it on the podcast, I'll be shocked. But go to NYAIS. Cross country trip they're on, maybe. Yeah. Come join us for this and be a part of it. And here's to a 2023 of to all of your prosperity and health and friendships. Love you all. Thank you so much. Don't be average.